Valheim is an open-world sandbox crafting game where your main objective is to kill boss monsters. You're dropped in, mostly naked, with a crow who acts as a tutorial. In this video, I'm going to talk about a few things I wish I knew when I first started, leading up to defeating the first boss. I'm going to start with a quick interface tour. When you press tab, you open up your inventory and crafting interface. In the top right corner, you have some buttons. Looking at them from right to left, you have a PvP toggle, an achievement list, a skill progress list which gives you descriptions of their effects when you hover over them, and a compendium which has a record of all tutorials you've read, including ones from Runestones and from Hugin. The biggest part of the compendium is the active effects section, which tells you the description of all the effects currently on you. On your minimap, it tells you the biome you're currently located in the top right corner, and the wind direction in the bottom left corner. You can use comma and period to zoom in and out of the minimap. You can press M to open the full map. Here you can see the area of the map you've currently explored. Scroll to zoom in and out. Left click and drag to pan the map around. Middle click to put a ping on the map for other players to see. In the upper right corner, it tells you the biome of the place under your cursor. You can pick an icon from the bottom right and double click on the map to place it and give it a name. Single left click a placed pin to put a red X on it. Double right click on a placed pin to clear it. The bed pin is your current spawn location. The skull and crossbone pin is the last place you died. The visible to other players checkbox puts a pin that tracks your location on the map for other players to see. In the bottom left corner, you have your health, your food meter, and a consumed item indicator, which tells you which foods are active or about to expire if they're flashing. You can only eat 3 different types of food at one time. You can hover over items in your inventory to see what effects they give. Better foods will give you a larger buff to your health and stamina. Speaking of stamina, whenever you use stamina to jump, sprint, attack, or sneak, a bar appears in the bottom middle of your screen. Sprint with shift and sneak with control, by the way. Also, while I'm at it, C is the run walk toggle, Q is auto run, and X sits you down. Your first priority in the game is to make a shelter and bed to sleep the night away. In the meadows, it's not a big deal to spend the night outdoors, it's just inconvenient. To that end, you'll need to make a set of tools: a stone axe, a hammer, and a hoe. The axe will enable you to cut down trees to gather wood. The hammer allows you to build structures, and the hoe manipulates the terrain. Let's get the materials for them. 5 wood and 4 stone for the axe, and 3 wood and 2 stone for the hammer, and 5 wood and 2 stone for the hoe. You'll notice the hoe is not in your crafting interface. It will show up later on in a crafting station. Both wood and stone can be found around your initial spawn point and across the ground in the surrounding area. Gather up enough wood just for the axe to gather the wood faster and pick up all the stones you can see. You can break these small trees with your fists, but it's not worth it with how much wood spawns on the ground in wooded areas. Once you've crafted the axe, you can break the smaller trees in a couple of hits for a small amount of wood, or you can break down the big trees for logs, which can be broken down into smaller logs, which can be broken down into 10 wood each, and the stump can be broken for about 2 wood. To begin with, gather up about 70 wood. Now build the hammer and find a place to build your starting base. I find that it's better to build near water, since flint and other resources are found exclusively by water. Also, you're eventually going to need to travel by boat, so it's better to find the shore earlier on. You might also find a pre-built structure that you can claim and repair. These are often not big enough to use as a base, but they are a handy place to sleep. Once you've found a spot to build, a structure to claim, or it's starting to get dark, it's time to learn how to use a hammer. Equip your hammer, then right-click to select which object you want to build. Pick and place down a workbench from the crafting tab. Now surround it on 3 sides with walls, using the mouse wheel to rotate your selected object, and place 2 26-degree roofs on top. If done correctly, the workshop should be considered sheltered and will allow you to repair your tools with the hammer icon to the side of the crafting interface. You'll also have access to more crafting recipes inside of the workbench, such as a hoe, which you'll want to craft and use to flatten the area around the workbench. I'm going to show you how to make a quick shelter to sleep the night away. Place a door off of one of the walls beside the workbench, then finish making a 2x3 room. On the wall opposite the door, place a 45-degree roof facing outward. I'll explain more about this in a bit. Break the wall you snapped it to and change it for a half wall. Then add 3 more walls to create a 1x1 room and place a campfire inside of it. Place a bed opposite of your workbench. Now fill in the roof of your 2x3 room using 26-degree roofs and roof ridges. It's not the smallest shelter you can make, but it is quick to build. Now it's time to get ready to build a starter home. You'll want to gather around 3 stacks of wood to make a modest-sized building. You have to sleep in an enclosed space near a fire. The fire can be inside or outside of your shelter. However, this game has smoke mechanics. This means you can die from smoke inhalation, or the fire can be put out from being surrounded by too much smoke. Also, there are storms which can put out an exposed fire and leave you unable to sleep. So what this means is that you need to have a roof over the fire and a place for the smoke to go. There isn't a literal vent object that you can construct, but there are a couple of things I can tell you that I've learned. The opening you leave for the smoke to vent needs to be at least the size of a half wall with some amount of space behind it. This can be accomplished in a bunch of different ways, like making a chimney with a 45-degree roof on top. Roof ridges can also work if you have a half wall opening under their ends. This principle can extend even to high up roofs with no chimney. Here's an example of a home with an attached chimney. Here's an example of a home with an unjoined chimney. Here's an example of a simple longhouse design. This particular design uses 150 wood and has plenty of space for storage. I can comfortably fit a bunch of chests into this room with no other shenanigans. I like using this kind of build because its simplicity makes it easy to build, expand upon, or even scale up into a larger build. Once you have an understanding of how smoke works, it should be easy enough to incorporate campfires inside of any type of build. One of the big advantages to having a shelter is having a reliable place to get the rested buff, which increases your health and stamina regen. You can increase the length of your rested buff by increasing the comfort level of your shelter. The first item that you get to increase the comfort, other than the bed, is a deerskin rug. You don't need to sleep to gain the rested buff. You can just stand around inside of your shelter, or you can sit near a fire outdoors using the X key. You can also build cooking stations over your campfire, which allows you to cook meat you gain from wildlife. When it's done cooking, it'll make a sizzling noise. If you leave the meat on the cooking station for too long, it turns into charcoal. There's also another thing to mention when it comes to your shelter. You have to create workbench improvement objects in order to make more advanced gear, to upgrade your gear to higher levels, and to repair more advanced gear. These improvements are normally very cheap, however the tanning rack stands out, requiring 20 leather scraps, which means killing at least 20 boars, or more if you're unlucky. With all of that out of the way, it's time to start thinking about how you're going to kill the first boss. You're going to want to make and upgrade a crude bow so it's easier to kill deer to collect deer trophies, which you need 2 of to summon the first boss. This is also a good time to mention that the first set of armor you can create is made from deer hides, so it's definitely worth killing deer as soon as possible. Just a couple of things while you're doing all of this. There's a runestone that I like to call boar shrines. This runestone is a static spawning point for boars and will respawn every few in-game days. I have to say this is probably just confirmation bias. I can't say for certain that boars spawn at a greater rate around these runestones than any other place in the meadows. However, there is a large initial amount of boars around this particular runestone. You may want to make a flint axe at some point, since they deal more damage and have a higher durability than stone axes. Use your bow as much as you can during this period to increase your damage with it. You can use rocks or trees as target practice to increase your level. Be on the lookout for abandoned houses. They tend to contain chests with random loot and have a chance to spawn a beehive. If you find a beehive, break it with your bow, then wait a few seconds for the bees to disperse. There's a high chance you'll get a queen bee from the broken hive. With a queen bee, you can make a beehive to start producing honey, which is a cheap early game health recovery food. Honey is also used for various potions later on, so it's a good idea to start production earlier on. Beehives attract local mobs, so make sure you surround it with some sort of wall for protection. Try to kill birds to get feathers, which can be used to make stronger arrows, such as flint head and fire arrows. Wooden arrows are sufficient to kill most deer and birds in one shot, so use these while you're hunting. Make stronger arrows to use during the boss. Both flint head and fire arrows deal more damage than wooden arrows, and this means you'll kill the boss quicker. Once you're prepared, it's time to face the first boss. As a reminder, eat before you leave home so that you can have time to regenerate your health. The best combination of food that I'm aware of at this stage is cooked meat, a grilled necktail, and a raspberry or mushroom. Take 2 deer head trophies to Ekathir's summoning altar. If you haven't found one of his altars yet, you can visit the Circle of Stones where you were first spawned into this world. There's a small runestone that you can interact with that will put a marker on one of his altars. Once there, place the 2 deer trophies on your hotbar, then press that number while looking at the altar. Once the boss is spawned, he has 3 main attack patterns. A charge attack ending after hitting you, a charge that ends with him shooting lightning in a straight line in the direction he was heading, and a charge that ends with a large lightning explosion centered on the boss. The tactic to face him is very simple. Try to stay to his side or back while unleashing arrows at him. If you ever end up at the end of one of his charges, dodge backward into the side. To dodge, hold a direction, block, then jump. From experience, it takes around 50 wooden arrows to kill him if you're a decent shot. It will take less arrows if you're better at landing full draw hits or using better arrows. Once you've killed Ekathir, you'll get a trophy and some hard antlers. The trophy gets turned in at the stone circle on a trophy hook, which gives you your first power, which is activated using the F key. And the hard antlers get turned into a pickaxe, which effectively unlocks the next section of the game, which I can talk about at some later point. By the way, I really like this particular seed. I have the seed on screen now and in the video description. I don't know if the world generation will change in the future. Anyways, that's all I've got for today. Do you want to see more about Valheim? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so very much for watching, and have yourselves a very good day.
You